Pooh Shiesty is reportedly under investigation for allegedly helping his homie escape from prison. And not just any homie. We're talking about a convicted murderer who walked out of jail 38 minutes after being found guilty. 38 minutes. A whole jury said this man is guilty of first-degree murder. And less than an hour later, he's walking out the front door like he just paid a parking ticket. And now the feds think Pooh Shiesty been helping him stay hidden ever since. This is some movie type, but it's happening in real life right now in Memphis. So buckle up, because what I'm about to break down is absolutely insane. All right, before we get into how Pooh allegedly got involved in this mess, we got to set the scene and understand who we're dealing with here. The homie who escaped is named Anthony Green, but in the streets, people know him as Choa. Now, Choa ain't just some random dude. This man is part of the same Memphis circle that runs deep with Pooh Shiesty and the whole 1017 crew. These Memphis streets are connected, fam. Everybody know everybody, and loyalty runs deeper than blood out there. To really understand this bond, you got to know about Memphis street culture. This ain't like other cities where crews are spread out and disconnected. In Memphis, specifically in areas like South Memphis and Whitehaven, the street network is incredibly tight. Pooh Shiesty came up in this environment, grinding from nothing, and the people he came up with are the same people he still rocks with today. Cho was one of those day one homies. They was running together before the fame, before the record deal with Gucci Mane's 2017 records, before any of the success. That's the type of loyalty we're dealing with here. The kind where you'd risk everything, because that's your brother. Not by blood, but by circumstance and survival. Let me take y'all back to June 2020, because that's where this whole story really starts. Memphis, Whitehaven area. It's a hot summer night, and a 27-year-old man named Octavius Atkins is just sitting in his car at the intersection of Shelby Drive and Knee Road. He's minding his business, probably on his phone, maybe waiting for somebody. We don't know, but what we do know is that out of nowhere, a white Mercedes SUV pulls up, and that's when everything went left. According to police reports and witness statements, somebody in that white Mercedes opened fire on Atkins' car. We're talking multiple shots, broad daylight. No hesitation type Octavius Atkins died right there at the scene. Fam gone in an instant. But it didn't stop there. A 49-year-old man who was sitting in another car nearby also got hit. He survived, but the message was clear. Whoever did this was on some serious timing. Now, here's where it gets real. After the shooting, that white Mercedes SUV just vanished. But Memphis police ain't stupid, and they started working the case immediately. Hours later, they found that same white Mercedes behind a building completely torched. Somebody set that car on fire trying to destroy evidence, which tells you this wasn't random. This was calculated. This was somebody who knew what they were doing, trying to cover their tracks. The Memphis Police Department knew they were dealing with someone who understood how investigations work. Someone who was trying to make sure no DNA, no fingerprints, no ballistic evidence could tie them to that vehicle. The Memphis Police Department started investigating, and after months of detective work, analyzing surveillance footage, talking to witnesses, and piecing together the evidence, they identified their suspect, Anthony Green, a.k.a. Choa Wap. The police put out a warrant for his arrest, and eventually a Mississippi highway patrolman caught him months later during a routine traffic stop. Chopper was arrested and charged with first-degree murder for the killing of Octavius Atkins. But here's the thing, fam. While Choa Wap was sitting in jail waiting for his murder trial, he also had another charge hanging over his head. A theft charge. Something way less serious than murder, obviously. But it's important because this is where the system gets messy. He made bond on that theft charge while he was still locked up on the murder case. So, technically he had posted bail for one charge, but he was still being held on the more serious murder charge. Y'all following me so far? Good, because this is where it gets absolutely insane. Fast forward to September 24th, 2025. Choa Wap's murder trial finally happens. He goes in front of a jury. They hear all the evidence, the surveillance footage, the witness testimonies, the forensic analysis of that burned Mercedes, everything. The prosecutors laid out their case piece by piece, showing how Choa Wap was a shooter, how he tried to destroy evidence, and how his actions took an innocent man's life. and injured another person who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. After hearing all of this, the jury deliberates and they come back with their verdict. Guilty. Guilty of first-degree murder. In Tennessee, fam, when you get convicted of first-degree murder, you're looking at life in prison. Mandatory. Life sentence. This ain't a slap on the wrist. This ain't something where you do 10 years and get out on good behavior. This is your life is over type of conviction. So everybody in that courtroom, the prosecutors, the victim's family, the judge, they all thinking this man is about to be processed and sent straight to a maximum security prison for the rest of his life. The victim's family probably felt some sense of relief, thinking justice had finally been served after 5 years of waiting. But here's what really happened. And I need y'all to pay close attention, because this is where everything goes completely off the rails. After that jury said guilty, Cho was supposed to be taken back into custody, his bonds revoked, and his paperwork processed to show he's now a convicted murderer serving a life sentence. The court clerk should have immediately updated the system, sent the conviction paperwork to jail, and made sure everyone knew that this man could not be released under any circumstances. But somewhere between that courtroom and the jail system, somebody up, and I mean up badly, at 2011 Poplar, that's the main jail facility of first-degree murder, and that all his bonds should be revoked. Those papers hadn't been processed yet. They were probably sitting on somebody's desk or stuck in some bureaucratic nightmare or lost in the shuffle of hundreds of other cases being processed that day. But they weren't in the system. And in the jail system, if it's not in a computer, it might as well not exist. So what did the jail do? They released him. They let a convicted murderer walk right out the front door. 38 minutes. 38 minutes after being found guilty of first-degree murder. Choa was a free man on the streets of Memphis. His attorney, a lawyer named Brandon Hall, even confirmed this to the media. Hall told Fox 13 that it was a clerical error, a paperwork mistake that allowed his client to walk. And get this, Hall said the jail usually takes forever to release people. He's constantly complaining that his clients sit in intake for 2 days waiting to get processed out. People who made bond on minor charges. People who should have been released immediately. They're sitting there for 48 hours because the system is so backed up and inefficient. But somehow, they got chopped out in 30 to 40 minutes. The one time there, efficient, is to release a damn murderer. You can't make this up. Now, the Memphis Police Department realized their mistake the next day, September 25th, 2025. Somebody finally processed that conviction paperwork, saw what happened, and immediately started sounding alarms. They immediately issued a new warrant for Anthony Green, charging him again with first-degree murder, employment of a firearm with intent to commit a felony, and criminal attempted first-degree murder for that. 49-year-old man who got shot, but by that time, Chapo Wap was gone, disappeared into thin air. He had a whole 24-hour head start, and in that time, he could have gotten anywhere, out of state to a safe house, somewhere deep in the country where nobody would think to look. And this is where Pooh Shiesty's name starts getting thrown into the mix. See, the street's been talking, fam. And according to multiple sources and what investigators are allegedly looking into, they believe Pooh Shiesty has been helping Choa Wap stay hidden. Now, I know what y'all thinking. Pooh Shie is locked up himself right now, due his own time on federal charges for that shooting in Miami. How the hell is he helping somebody from behind bars? But that's the thing about loyalty in these streets. Even from prison, Pooh allegedly been making moves, sending money, providing resources, and connecting Choa with people who can keep him safe and hidden. Let me break down what investigators suspect is happening, because this is some organized, first off, money. Choa can't just be out here on the run with no funds. He needs cash to eat, to move around, to pay for places to stay, to switch locations frequently, to buy new clothes so he doesn't look the same, to pay people to keep quiet. When you're a fugitive, everything costs money, and you need a steady flow of it. And word on the street is that Pooh Shiesty been funneling money to Chopa through various channels. Whether that's through family members, mutual friends, or people in their crew, the money is allegedly flowing. We're talking about thousands of dollars, enough to keep a man comfortable while he's dodging a murder warrant. Now, let me explain how this money movement probably works. Because it ain't as simple as Pooh just wiring cash from prison. Now, it's way more sophisticated than that. Pooh Shy, even though he was locked up, still had access to his money. He's got royalties coming in from his music. He's got investments. He's got accounts that his team manages. What investigators believe is happening is that Pooh is instructing people on the outside, maybe his lawyer, maybe family members, maybe trusted associates, to move money in ways that can't be easily traced back to Chopa. They might be using cash apps under fake names, sending money to multiple people who then pass it along, using cryptocurrency to make transactions harder to track, or even just passing physical cash through a chain of people. It's called structuring, and it's designed to avoid detection. The feds are good at following money trails, but when you break it up into small amounts and move it through multiple hands, it becomes a lot harder to prove where it's ultimately going. Second, safe houses. You can't be on the run and just be staying at any random spot. You need places where you can lay low, where people aren't going to snitch, where you're off the grid. Investigators believe Pooh Shiesty been connecting Choa Wap with safe houses, probably through his network of people in Memphis and surrounding areas. These are places owned by people who are loyal to the crew, who understand that snitching is the worst thing you can do, and who are willing to risk catching charges themselves to help a homie. We're talking about trap houses, rental properties under fake names, homes owned by people who are so far removed from the situation that police wouldn't even think to check them. Third, resources. I'm talking about burner phones, fake IDs, transportation, everything you need to stay mobile and off the radar. Choa can't be using his real phone, because police can track that through cell towers and GPS. He can't be driving his own car because a license plate is flagged in every law enforcement database in the country. So, he needs constant access to new phones that he uses for a few days, then throws away, new vehicles that aren't registered to him, and people who can move him around without raising suspicion. And investigators think Pooh Shiesty's connections are providing all of that. This is where the Memphis Street network becomes crucial. Pooh Shiesty knows people in every neighborhood, every area code, every corner of the city. He's got connections in Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, all over the South. With just a few phone calls from prison, he could set up a whole underground railroad-type system for Chapo Wap, moving him from place to place, always staying one step ahead of law enforcement. Now, y'all might be wondering, how do they even know Pooh Shiesty is involved? Well, for one, the he's saying. Even if Pooh is being careful and not saying anything directly incriminating, investigators can read between the lines. But it's not just about direct evidence. It's also about patterns and associations when they start tracking where Choa has been spotted, who's been helping him, and where the money is coming from. A lot of it allegedly traces back to people connected to Pooh Shiesty. They're looking at financial records, phone records, surveillance footage from areas where they think Chapo might have been. They're interviewing people, putting pressure on low-level associates who might know something, offering deals to anyone willing to cooperate. The streets in Memphis are tight-knit fam, but they're not impenetrable. Somebody always knows something, and when the feds start applying pressure, people start talking. Maybe it's someone who got pulled over with a large amount of cash and doesn't want to catch a money laundering charge. Maybe it's someone who let Choa Wap stay at their house for a week and now realizes they could be charged with harboring a fugitive. When people start facing their own prison time, loyalty starts to crack. Everybody knows Choa and Pooh Shiesty go way back. They from the same circles. They got mutual homies. And in that world, when one of your people is in trouble, you don't turn your back. You help no matter what, even if it means catching a federal conspiracy charge yourself. That's the code. And Pooh Shiesty been known to hold that code down heavy. In his music, in his interviews before he got locked up, Pooh always talked about loyalty being everything. He talked about never switching on his people, about keeping it real no matter what. And now allegedly, he's living by that code, even when it could cost him additional years in prison. But here's the thing. Helping a fugitive is a serious crime. We're talking about federal charges, conspiracy to harbor a fugitive, obstruction of justice. possibly even aiding and abetting. If they can prove Pooh Shiesty been sending money and resources to help Chopper Wap evade capture, Pooh could be looking at additional years added to his sentence. He's already locked up on gun charges from that Miami shooting, doing a 5-year bid, and now he might be catching more time for this. And it ain't just Pooh who could go down. Anybody who'd been helping Chop, a family member's friends, associates, people who provided safe houses or transportation, they all could be facing charges, too. The feds don't play when it comes to harboring fugitives, especially convicted murderers. Meanwhile, Choa Wap is still out there. As of right now, he's still on the run. Memphis police been searching for him, putting pressure on his known associates, checking every spot they think he might be. They probably got his face plastered all over social media, on Crime Stoppers websites, on local news broadcasts. They're offering rewards for information leading to his capture. But this dude has managed to stay hidden for months now, which tells you he's got a serious support system. You don't evade capture for this long without help. You just don't. Especially not in today's world where everybody got cameras, where facial recognition technology is everywhere, where one slip-up can get you caught. So, let's zoom out and talk about what this really means. Fam, this story ain't just about one man escaping, prison, or one rapper allegedly helping him. This is about the system failing at every level. How the hell does a convicted murderer walk out of jail because of a paperwork error? How is that even possible in 2025? We got technology. We got computers. We got systems that are supposed to prevent exactly this type of mistake. But somehow a man gets convicted of murder and walks out in less than an hour. That's insane. That's a failure of the justice system that puts the entire community at risk. Think about it. While Choa is out there on the run, he's a danger. He was convicted of killing one person and shooting another. What's to stop him from doing it again if he feels threatened or cornered? What about the victim's family who thought they finally got justice after 5 years only to find out the man who killed their loved one is walking free? That's psychological torture for them. They can't feel safe knowing he's out there somewhere, possibly even still in Memphis. And then you got the loyalty aspect. In the streets, loyalty is everything. When your homie needs you, you show up. No questions asked, no conditions. But where's the line? At what point does loyalty become complicity in something bigger and more dangerous? Pooh Shiesty, if these allegations are true, is risking additional prison time, possibly decades more, to help a convicted murderer stay free. That's the level of loyalty we're talking about. But it also raises questions about whether that loyalty is worth it when innocent people could get hurt, when you're already locked up and could be getting out in a few years, when you're throwing away your future for someone else. Y'all gotta understand Choa was convicted of killing Octavius Atkins, a 27-year-old man who had his whole life ahead of him. He also injured another innocent person in that shooting. Those are real lives, real families affected by this violence. Octavius had people who loved him, who miss him every day, who will never get to see him again because of what happened at that intersection. And now, because of a clerical error and allegedly because of help from people like Pooh Shiesty, the man responsible is walking free instead of serving his life sentence. That's not justice for the victims. That's not safety for the community. But this is the reality of the streets. Fam, this is the culture where loyalty sometimes outweighs everything else, where the code matters more than the law, and where people are willing to risk it all for their homies. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling y'all what it is. This is the world that Pooh Shiesty and Choa come from, and this is the world they're still operating in, even from behind bars and while on the run. So where does this leave us? Right now, the investigation is ongoing. Federal agents and Memphis police are working overtime trying to track down Choa and figure out who's been helping him. Pooh Shiesty's name keeps coming up in these investigations. And if they can build a solid case, we could see new charges filed against him soon. Every phone call he makes from prison is being analyzed. Every person he's connected to is being watched. The net is closing, and it's only a matter of time before something breaks. And when they finally catch Choa, because trust me, they will catch him eventually, Everybody who helped him is going to face consequences. That's just how it works. The feds don't just want the fugitive. They want everyone who made it possible for him to stay free. They'll use that capture as leverage to flip people, to get them to cooperate and provide evidence against others. That's when we'll really find out the extent of Pooh Shiesty's involvement, if any. And for the rest of us watching this unfold, it's a wild reminder that truth really is stranger than fiction. You can't make this __ up, fam. A convicted murderer walks out of jail in 38 minutes, and one of Memphis's biggest rappers is allegedly helping him stay hidden from behind bars. That's the type of story that shows you just how deep loyalty runs in the streets and how messy things get when the system breaks down. Stay tuned, because this story ain't over. Not by a long shot. And when more details drop, y'all know I'm going to be here breaking it all down for you. Until then, keep it real, stay safe, and remember, the streets are always watching.